Hey fellow YouTubers, this is Dan850 bringing you the third episode of Doctor Who A Retrospective. Today I'll just take a quick look at the John Pertwee era, which spanned from 1970s to 1974. The 1970s, as you know, is better known as the golden era for Doctor Who. It contained many of the most memorable stories, too numerous to name, but let's get right onto it. John Pertwee. Out of all the Doctors, I mean, John Pertwee is one of my favourites, without a doubt. I was a bit, when I think about John Pertwee's career, I mean, he did a lot of comedy. He was a radio actor, wasn't he? Did a lot of radio back in the 50s and 60s. He also did a couple of comedy films, Carry On movies. So his roles there were always very, he was a comedian. And so when he played Doctor Who in 1970, and this, as I understand, it was very much planned. It was the idea of the producer Barry Letts, who put the idea to him to be the next Doctor after Patrick Troughton left, or when Patrick Troughton was going to leave. But he was very, he was the dandy Doctor, wasn't he? He had the smoking jackets, he had the frilly shirt, curlish hair. And he, out of all Doctors, he was the least eccentric. He was very serious, wasn't he? Straight-laced Doctor John Pertwee. He didn't have the, eccentric mannerisms, as we say, or the quirkiness, really, that Pat Troughton and certainly Tom Baker had, who had it by the bucket load. But his era, I mean, I think back on his stories, the stories that really stood out for me was, first of all, his first season, which, as I've reviewed it recently, I've recently got to see the Spearhead from Space again, which I haven't seen for many years. I saw on DVD, also the Silurians. It's a great story, but the one that really stood out for me was that story, Inferno. It's got to be probably my all-time favourite classic Doctor Who story. It stood out for me in so many ways. It was the first story that introduced the Doctor to the parallel universe, and the fact, I mean, what gave it the extra strength for me was the fact, obviously, when John Pertwee became the Doctor, slight backtrack here, but I'll do that. He was the first Doctor to be broadcast in colour, and I think that made such a difference. I mean, some people have the view that the black and white era was the best because of the fact it wasn't black and white, it created atmosphere. To some extent, I agree. I mean, the Invasion of the Cybermen, Patrick Troughton's second unit story, was a great story, and I think it worked well because it was in black and white. But as it's never going to be colorised, I don't think. I guess we'll never know. But I personally think the colour makes all the difference. Also, with Inferno, it had everything, didn't it? It had the story, the script, the characters. I mean, as I said, it's the first story that introduced the Doctor to a parallel universe, and I think they carried it off so beautifully. They really did. I mean, you think about it. There was the Doctor playing around with his TARDIS console, because don't forget, he was exiled to Earth by his fellow Time Lords as punishment for interference. And and with Inferno, that was the last, I must say, that was the last story that we ever saw Bill Hartnell's console in. It was the last time it was used. And when John Pertwee was playing with it, of course, as he said, as the Doctor said, you know, he didn't knock him forward or backwards in time, it just knocked him sideways, where everything was just almost the same but different. Unit are there, and by the parallel universe, everything's like the fascist states. They're still trying to dig at the Earth's core, as in the normal universe, but units have been, I mean, the Brigadier, for instance, is no longer called a Brigadier, he's Brigade Leader. Liz Shaw is now some fascist officer who's wearing some stupid, ridiculous dark wig. But, I mean, and of course, and of course the enemies, was it Professor, what do they call it, Professor in Inferno, was it Professor Scarman, was it? And all of that, now it's like Pyramids of Mars, wasn't it, in Tom Baker's era? But anyway, never mind. If you haven't seen the Inferno, for heaven's sake, get the DVD, you will not be disappointed. Fantastic. John Pertwee's other stories, his favourite ones, I think, was Sea Devils is another one. His era, yes, again, introduced many enemies that we now know and love. The Autons, the Silurians, the Sea Devils, the Master. We saw the introduction of new iconic companions. Sarah Jane Smith, who came later in John Pertwee's last season. Of course, we had the Daleks again. But looking back and see that season, that whole John Pertwee era, I think he was the, apart from Paul McGann, who only did it for one film, so it doesn't really count, but John Pertwee was the only Doctor who never ever met the Cybermen. I mean, I know you can go into the Five Doctors, say yeah, he fought Cybermen then, but when he was actually the Doctor proper, he never met the Cybermen, and I thought that was quite odd, because I mean, think about it. I mean, there he is, the Doctor, exiled on Earth, and there's many pros and cons of having that. I mean, having all the threats come to Earth, and having this unit, military United Nations Intelligence Task Force, which is designed to investigate extraterrestrial activities here on Earth, all the unknown, and all the alien monsters and the alien threats that come to Earth. He never even meets the Cybermen, and I think that's really, and that is a great shame. That's a great shame. I mean, I thought we could have had potentially a really good story there, something along the same lines as the Invasion. It could have been a sequel to the Invasion, perhaps, but we'll never know, will we? John Pertwee, I mean, going for his years, he was there as the Doctor for 5 years, and as he said, I mean, John Pertwee, has things gone right, negotiations gone well, with Sean Sutton, head of drama, I believe, history could have been very different. John Pertwee was prepared to stay on for that extra season, because you know he left at the end of the Planet of Spiders, but you know he wanted a bit more money, fair enough. But there's the BBC turned around and said to him, no, we've got a budget, you're going to have, you know, that's it. They're not going to renew your contract on his terms, we're not going to give you any more money, so John Pertwee left. And, again, looking at John Pertwee era, I mean, Planet Spiders, even though, okay, it was a no-okay story, it wasn't my favourite, but it was a good story. I mean, I preferred The Demons to Planet Spiders. The Demons was a classic, I mean, I think it was brilliant. The idea of devil worshipping, you call up this demon to try and get its power. It's a very simplistic story. Had some holes, but no, I enjoyed it though. And of course, Roger Delgado, who played the Master, and this is all due respect to the many actors who have played the Master since Roger Delgado's death. In 1973, he died in Turkey during the film shoot. He was in a taxi and it went over a cliff. Very, very sad. But had he lived, the plan was that the Master would come back for that last season, and it'd be the Master's final story, because what would happen is the Master would sacrifice himself for the Doctor, so the Master would be killed, the Doctor would be badly injured, but that's all causes regeneration. Such a shame that never happened, isn't it? Because that would have been a fantastic idea of, you know, the Master back for your final story. I mean, the Master did come back at the end of Tom Baker's era in Logopolis. Worst story ever. Didn't like it. Couldn't stand Logopolis. It was terrible. The only good thing I liked about it was the regeneration. Talking about regenerations, going back to John Pertwee, because that's what we're here to talk about. John Pertwee, I mean, you have two of the iconic Doctors, you know, John Pertwee and Tom Baker, and with the end of that story, what do you get? You get the worst, in Planet Spiders, when he dies, that has got to be the worst regeneration ever. I mean, one minute he's John Pertwee, next is Tom Baker, that's it. no lights, no attempts at visuals or anything else. It just morphs into Tom Baker and that's it. Terrible, really, really terrible. Sorry, it is. I thought John Pertwee deserved a better send off than that. And if you notice about John Pertwee, that last scene, the Doctor actually died. He got radiation poisoning from crystals, blue crystals of Metebelis 3. That's Metebelis 3, not Metabolis 3. Metebelis, and his Doctor actually died. He actually died. Don't think it's ever happened since then, has it? No, it did happen. Paul McGann. No, Sir Russell McCoy, his Doctor died as well, which delayed regeneration. And of course, the Doctor needed help in Planet Spiders to regenerate, because during the story he meets his old mentor from Gallifrey, who's living as a Buddhist monk in Tibet, as you do. When you're a Time Lord, you can go anywhere you like, but he's decided to go to Tibet and become a Buddhist monk. Why not? So yeah, I mean, to say John Pertwee, great Doctor, very well suited. Had some, I think what works well is the chemistry with John Pertwee and Nicholas Courtney, who played the Brigadier, also with Katie Manning, who played Jo Grant, and his first season, I think, with Liz Shaw. I thought Liz Shaw was a great companion, ahead of her time. She, it was about time to do something like that, making the companion a bit more intelligent, a bit more serious, a bit more knowledgeable. Some people differ, some people don't agree with that. I personally do. I think she was great. Pity we didn't see her past that first season, but the producers decided to go back to a better feed, as they say. Wanted a companion to ask questions and they would seek knowledge, rather than someone who actually had an idea of what's going on and know what the Doctor means when he says, I'm going to reverse the polarity of the neutron flow, and that, that classic saying of John Pertwee's. Yeah, but John Pertwee definitely stands out for me. I'm glad he left when he did, but I thought he made a great contribution to the programme. Fantastic, and I think it was a job well done. Catch you later. Bye bye.